Is traditional schooling better than homeschooling? What made us as a family that have done master degrees and have 2 college degrees each, my husband and I, changed from traditional schooling and decided on homeschooling? So watch this video till the end. I'm going to talk about behind the scenes, my experiences from my own research, from things that I'm seeing with other homeschooling families. And if you're in the fence, you're potentially trying to change the method how you teach your kids, and this video is going to be the video that is going to show you if it might be the right fit for you, what's the pros, what's the cons, and exactly the 10 reasons what it made us homeschool. Let's be honest, the number of homeschool students in the US and around the world has steadily gone up, and it's not coincidentally since the pandemic. That time where everybody was forced to be at home, do the whole unauthorized, unimproved online programs and trying to teach their kids. But this also opened the door because for the first time ever, students and parents were in the same room, and actually parents got to see what they were being taught in school, got to see a little bit the programs, what they were learning, the systems, got to know a little bit better their teacher, their peers, and so on. So here's 10 exactly reasons why my husband and I finally decided to homeschool, even though we have all had a regular college and education system, and so far has been hands down much way better than the traditional schools, and this is the reasons. Number one, time efficiency. Traditional school is a masterclass in wasting your time. First, you're waiting for the kid who's late. Then there's roll call, missing pencils, classroom transitions, and my personal favorite, group projects where one kid does the work and the rest argues about font size and so on. With homeschooling, we're done with core subjects by lunch. My daughter, she gets her reading, writing, and math done early, then dives into her curriculums like ballet, gymnastics, soccer, then her science experience, which she loves. She gets to spend time. There's no bell, there's no schedule, there's no time wasted, and we don't lose over 40 minutes arguing what shoes to wear and how to get ready properly, making sure all her books are in one bag. There's no time wasting on waiting for the bus or driving, so it's very convenient. We don't have to deal with 1,000 emails school send that you have to keep up on what day it is, what pajama day, and so on. And I know, I get it, they're trying to make it fun. But for me, as a parent that already own a business and my husband works from home and we have so much other stuff that we deal with, is very time consuming. So since we've done homeschool, I feel my kid learns more quicker because she actually focuses more on her education. If she has questions or she wants to expand on a subject, she's not restricted to wait for the next time she can ask the teacher a question, or maybe come home and she's already tired, but she has a question about something, wants to learn more. We open YouTube, find a tutorial, and make her watch it. Or maybe make the science experience, but she actually just learned, or she practices the thing that she learned. So very, very time efficient. Flexibility. Number two, remember when we discovered working on pajamas and flip-flops and slippers were so comfortable that was actually a bigger advantage as to why we didn't want to go back to corporate or working from the office? Whereas the same thing, like students don't have to be sitting on an uncomfortable desk. They can sit whenever, they can work from which room. They're more creative, they're more focused on. If it's from the couch, so be it. If it's from the ground, laying on top of the carpet, so be it. This gave us a lot of flexibility, not just like on the time efficiency, but also to travel the world. Since we homeschool, we have been able to travel around the world without missing from school, because all we need is a laptop or maybe books or maybe works that we can take with us, and we can take the homeschooling in a more creative way. If let's say you learned about the history of Poland, would it be more interesting that actually go to a Poland museum and actually see the things that you just learned? That is going to be more effective for you to actually absorb that information than just sitting at a desk and just absorbing the information visually. We have been in places that I would have never imagined to leave US and travel for 2 months in Europe and still be able to be on track with homeschooling and working from home and continue my business. Just last year alone, we were in São Miguel, we were in Ponta Cana, Kosovo, we were in Czech Republic, Poland, Albania. I probably missed a few, I'm pretty sure. We went to Florida. And this was all in 1 year. Like if I combine all the months combined, we'd probably travel at least 3 months, maybe more, but with time, like with breaks. And I'm not saying during the travels we're like doing the same thing, like homeschooling hardcore, but we try to like do some homework, which is like her main program, online program that she continues, and then try to learn on the go, trying to learn different things. If it's a new language, new culture, new history, because at the end of the day, when they're elementary school and that age, that's what learning is all about. It's for them to learn as much as they can about the world, about science, biology, physics, and so on. In traditional schools, you have to wait for the kids to be in the field trip that the school organizes, or maybe you as a parent on the weekend, or potentially your vacation week or summer to travel in different places. I feel like with homeschooling, if let's say you learn something about phones, and I remember we did a project on the science of how the phones were created, and my daughter did a whole presentation. Then our next step was finding a museum that was all about phones and actually be hands-on, trying on how people used to call each other and have like somebody in the middle unplugging, plugging things. So like for the kids, that was more memorable than even the project itself that they had to work on and study and read books about how phones were invented or telegram and so on. So by actually traveling more and being homeschooled, it gives you the opportunity to do it because you don't have to wait for anybody else. Personalized curriculum. I hear this very often because I see that a lot of parents who homeschool, every kid learns differently. Every kid absorbs information differently. We cannot have every kid in a cookie cutter books or way of explaining something to them. And at the end of the day, let's face it, not all teachers are great. Arya, my daughter, had actually amazing teachers in her first kindergarten, at least from what we saw. But you cannot like promise your daughter or your kid to have amazing teachers that'll motivate them, they'll inspire them, they'll actually educate them how you want the information to be absorbed. Not every kid learns in the same way. There's kids that are more visually. There's kids that maybe genuinely hate history, for example. I remember as a kid, I used to hate history. And here I am learning because I'll fail history just to pass the test. And honestly, from all the years that I wasted on learning about history, nowadays, if I need something, all I do is ask ChatGPT and I'll learn it. I'm not saying that history is a wasteful subject. Of course, it has its value. Everybody needs to know kind of like a little bit the background of their state, a little bit about World War I, World War II, and all that. But did we really have to remember every single date because it wasn't a quiz, and every single event because it wasn't a quiz? And did we have to put so much stress and information on the kids that genuinely, if they were interested in a certain subject like World War I, they can decide to learn that? And again, I'm not saying don't learn history, right? Just because I hated it. But I'm saying there's a lot of subjects that we learn a lot that when the kids are not interested on that subject, they're not going to absorb any information. We should have a little bit more focus on the subjects they're genuinely interested and develop more that interest, because that's how they're going to absorb more information and be more involved. If it's science, if it's even drawing, like imagine that hobby that you had when you were a kid, let's say drawing. Imagine if your parents invested more on your drawing skills. You could have become Picasso. You could have become a famous painter by now. And if you think about, we all as a kid had a little bit interest more in something than the rest. And I'm pretty sure that if we had some type of curriculum that we developed and investigated more on that subject and learned more on that subject, I'm pretty sure that we all would have been a subject expert on that subject. If it was doctor, if it was content creation, if it was like videographers, like whatever it might have been, writers. But because we all were put in this cookie cutter education system that we all had to learn the same books, do the same quizzes, our creativity, our interest diminished because we didn't see the value, the potential. Nobody told us what was the potential if we continued in writing. Where homeschooling provides you that opportunity. For example, my daughter, she's very interested in science, so we do a lot of science experiments. I let her sometimes, as long as she's not putting any harsh chemicals, I let her investigate like what happens when you combine flour with a liquid and what happens when you put color to a certain color, and so on and so on. But now she's the one that comes to me with some ideas about some mini inventions that she had, like to improve, let's say, the plants that we have, how we can add more water to the plants without working hard. And again, me as a kid, because I was in the same traditional school, I didn't have this potential. I didn't have the time and creativity to invest more in what I was interested in. I loved like dancing growing up, but I also loved medical stuff, like being a doctor, helping people. And I'm pretty sure that if my parents invested a lot of my creativity as a dancer, or even though there were two different subjects, I could have chosen to be either a professional choreographer growing up, or even potentially like a really good doctor. I don't think the doctor would have worked though, because I faint from blood and I'm very scared of needles. But at the time, I didn't know that. Who knows? Maybe I could have become a pediatrician that didn't involve needling people. I'm just saying. But I've noticed that people, homeschoolers, because they have like a curriculum that they follow, they're trying to learn the writing, the reading, math, like the subject lines. But then, based on which kid has that extra hobby, they invest a lot more, they read more books, they tend to learn more about other things because they were interested on subject, for example. And I think traditional school, if your kid, you send them in traditional schools, you're kind of like breaking their creativity. You're kind of like making them feel that they have to be a certain way to meet expectations and be like the other people. You're kind of like almost like minimizing their potential. Maybe they're very, very smart for their peers. And if you, as a parent, were closer to them, were able to see that, you could potentially invest more in developing that math or science, wherever they might have had as a mini genius in themselves, right? But you're not there. You don't see it much. The teachers don't have time to notice and see it. So in a way, you're kind of like preparing your kid to be like everybody else and just go with the flow and potentially have A's. But other than that, that's it. Number 4, which I'll probably get a lot of hate about this, but is having a safe environment. And I know what you're going to say, like, oh, Marcy, probably you're having your kid isolated from society, from friends. But in a way, you can control the environment your kid is growing up. You can control the type of friends that they have. You can control like the teacher. Like with the online program, I could select and I could see like the style that the teacher was teaching, if it was interactive enough, if it was what my child wanted, but also the people that they hang out in schools. Because you're having different grades, you're having people coming from different background, from different type of families. You cannot control the negativity, you cannot control the bullying, you cannot control the bad influence that people are getting in schools, versus like when you homeschool and you can choose the co-ops, the type of friends, the type of activities, and the people that she hangs out. And I'm not saying I'll be able to control this all her life, because I don't want it to control her life. But in the end of the day, we as parents can make best decisions for them and giving them a better idea as to what good friends are and what bad situations are, bad influence are. And hopefully they can have better friends and better relationships with the people that in a way we can kind of control. I don't look like a controlling freak, but I didn't have that growing up. I couldn't stop people from bullying me, and I potentially could have gone in bad influence and hang out with bad people, and who knows, go through a very bad and dark route. But thank God I had my parents that were constantly teaching me wrong and right. They in a way kind of like stick with me. And I'm not saying because your kids will go to traditional schools, they potentially can end up being criminal, right? I'm not saying that. But what I'm trying to say is like, you have more influence on the type of relationships and environment your kid is. And at home, they're also safe. Like they have you, they have maybe their sibling, their grandparents if they live with you, their dad. And again, she's not always hanging out with us, right? Like we have co-ops that we join and so on and so on. So she still has her friends, her peers, her socialization. And I don't want to mention this part too, but we have heard the news. You never know which school will be next. And I'm from Connecticut. Well, I'm not originally from Connecticut. I'm from Albania. But in Albania, I grew up in a civil war where I had to deal with listening to, you know what, noises, because I don't even know what's banning nowadays on YouTube anymore. But then when I lived in Connecticut, we heard the big news about what happened in one of the Connecticut schools. And literally, I feel every month we hear something new. So in a way, you cannot control. And as much as schools are doing the best they can to make them safe, I can still walk into school, do the buzzer, and they let me in. They don't know who I am. They have no idea to question me to see like what's under my coat. So in a way, I feel at least I have some type of control of the safety of my child. Number 5, which people don't talk about, is parent-child bonding. Homeschooling is like team building, but with snacks, more hugs, cuddles. We learn side by side, we travel together, we brainstorm our ideas and thoughts during business meetings or when she draws next to us while we work. She's 8 and already wants to build a company. I'm not saying she's the next Elon Musk. I mean, who knows? But she's definitely taking notes because I have a business. I talk to clients. I'm talking about marketing and self-development. When we take walks, we always have like questions that we talk and topics that we open that opens their world in a different way that we ever had as an opportunity growing up. Because we all know when we as kids came back from school, we ate lunch maybe or dinner together with the parents, and then we had to do homework, and we still didn't really spend much quality time with our parents. We basically didn't know much about our parents, maybe until we became parents ourselves, and we kind of like we created that bond. Since homeschooling, our relationship has grown stronger and deeper. And because I'm present for all the learning, I'm also the one shaping her values. No one else is setting the tone. I am. And for me, that's priceless. Like, even when I go somewhere for 3 hours, my child misses me. I'm not saying that other parents or their children are not missing them, but I'm saying that in a way, our values, our ways of thinking, if it's religion, if it's like a certain culture that you have time to explore it with your child, to share with them. We cook together, we make breakfast together, we have a routine together. Sometimes my daughter, even though 8, she'll make me breakfast and coffee because I have early meetings. Sometimes like we're cooking something together during lunch or we're walking. So this is something that you'll not be able to have if your children are out of your home. You'll never develop that time. This time is never coming back. You'll never have the time to spend time with your kids and make memories because they grow up so quick. And once they grow up, they won't probably want to spend time with you anymore. They'll have their friends, they'll have their outing, maybe they'll go to college. But hopefully the way how we're shaping our daughter and the values and the education that we're giving her, not just like curriculum education, but like family education, culture education, and other values and beliefs that we have as a family, we believe that this will grow the bond to always having us as friends, not just family, not just mom and dad, but to bigger, deeper relationship. I believe that we to one another are best friends, and then everybody else comes to the picture. Number 6, which is very important nowadays, is less emotional pressure. Let's talk about school-induced anxiety. Tests, homework, popularity contests, dress codes, events. You can say with us vibes. It's a lot. Homeschooling strips that all away. Kids can finally wear what they want, be who they are, and follow their passions without a peanut-free lunchbox crisis looming over them, right? Without the peer pressure. Your child likes insects? Great, they can talk about bugs all day long and maybe even find mutual friends that love bugs. They want a mullet and pick socks? You got it, kid. As long as they're feeling comfortable in their own skin and feeling they can explore and be with people like-minded like them. If my daughter loves science or maybe loves gymnastics, we find friends in the community. There's so many homeschooling communities and co-ops and activities and travels and trips that we do together that she can join finally and meet those peers. In a school environment, it's hard because there's so many kids. You feel so overwhelmed. And let's talk about the test pressure and succeed in a certain way where at the end of the day in homeschool you can do the test twice, you can do it 3 times. You don't have that pressure that, oh my god, anxiety and feeling that the need to succeed or be a certain way. You can get as competitive or less competitive. You make the call. From all the research that we did, another reason that we chose to homeschool was to build more confidence and independence. You will be amazed of how much freedom kids can have homeschooling and how much independence will build on them, because she knows that she has to be the one to manage her time, to sometimes cook breakfast for her or to make sure which clothes to wear, make sure that she gets her homework done, otherwise she won't have her play dates or she won't have maybe the co-ops or the travels. And at first, I'm not saying it's easy peasy, there's a lot of structures and a lot of learning involved, but eventually they end up being independent more than we have ever been in our childhood. following the certain traditional route, because everything is done for them. Like, you in the morning, you'll make them breakfast and drive them to school, right? They have to learn, or from a certain time, 8 to 2, and then they have to do homework 2 to 5. But when you give kids a little bit freedom and give them the right resources to structure their own day, you'll be amazed of the value that is of learning how to be independent, learning about managing your time and setting priorities for yourself. Homeschool children that I've seen, they really take ownership of their learning. They make choices, build routines on their own. They discover what excites them. And this naturally builds confidence and independence. Two things every parent secretly, or not so secretly, wants for their child. And universities love it too. Many universities prefer homeschool applicants for their maturity, creativity, and initiative. So yeah, this isn't as a basement dweller stereotype. We're raising future leaders here. And I feel like homeschooling, especially if you're able to do it, is so much better for your family. And the biggest stereotype about homeschooling, and I get this question all the time, and honestly, I believed it too. And the question is usually, but Marcy, but what about socialization? You're making your kids feel weird. They won't know how to talk to other kids. They will have no friends. And honestly, that was our biggest priority too. We did a lot of research. We talked to a lot of homeschoolers and people that maybe went to the traditional route, but then they changed their mind, including teachers, where they quit corporate, they quit being a teacher, and then now they're homeschooling their kids. And honestly, better socialization, right? So yeah, like, this is the reason, number 8. And I'm not arguing with you. When you homeschool your kid, you have to take extra effort of making sure they're having good socialization through the week. Because yeah, your best friends are you, maybe the sibling, depending how many kids you'll have. But the end of the day, it's up to you to make that effort. It doesn't come for free, right? So what do we do for socialization? My daughter goes to different activities. We have twice a week co-ops where she meets with other homeschoolers, smaller group where she has the opportunity to build even deeper relationship, but with other people that are going through the same journey as her and maybe like more or less the same things. Maybe they like science, or maybe they like another thing. She'll do coding with them. She'll be doing projects hands-on, reading, writing. She'll do chess class. Then she does once a week, she'll go to do gymnastics and meets other peers, and also is teaching something else, like something like about discipline, about being strict and learning a routine. Then she does soccer, where you learn how to be a team player, and you meet also boys and girls and trying to compete on toughness or speed, right? We do play days. We always like make sure we're very involved in our community and neighborhood, where we meet and she can get to spend time and chooses to spend time with who she wants to spend time. So is homeschooling going to make your child less socialized? I believe not. Is it easy? No, like, you still have to make that effort and make all those things happen for your child. And I do understand people that maybe don't do it. Maybe their child might not be as social. But at the end of the day, not every child is social, right? Not every child wants to be on a bigger group. We have introverts and we have extroverts. But at least our daughter or our kids are going to have a more deeper relationship with the people that they care, other than having everybody in a school environment and not even having a chance to maybe speak up or find the right people and maybe be friends with the right people. So socialization, if you think about it, in school, is not that the kids talk to one another all day long. I mean, they have to listen to the teacher. I was taught, I don't know about you, but I was taught constantly, like, nobody speak when the teacher speaks, and only if you have questions, raise your hand. And with homeschools, you notice that nobody really raises their hand. I mean, they'll raise a hand if we're having some type of project and they're asking, but they're so like fierce. They'll be speaking their mind. And actually, I remember I went to do some piano lessons, and without the first lesson, without we having to explain to the pianist or to the teacher that we were homeschooled, his first impression of Aria was like, "Can I ask you a question? Are you homeschooled?" And she's like, "Yeah, why?" And he's like, "Well, because like you just express your thoughts more freely. Like, you don't raise your hand, you just ask the question that you have," right? So this is the type of kids we're raising here. And also in school, like, you might socialize maybe on that 5-minute break or class transition, or maybe during a certain class that you're outside or a trip, but how much socialization do the kids actually have through the entire day? So would you prefer for the kid just to be amongst people but socialize maybe 10 minutes a day, or be amongst family a certain time of the day and then choose who to hang out and build more one-on-one in a small group connections? Personally, I would choose like what I have right now. And reason number 9. I don't know why I'm whispering. It's so quiet right now in my house because I had to yell at everybody, everybody be quiet, I'm making a video, because we're all home. My daughter is home, my husband works from upstairs, my parents live with me. So there's a lot of stuff going on. But thank God I have a big house, so you don't hear all the time, people. Reason number 9 is language learning. We all have potentially, especially in US, like a parent with certain background. It might be Spanish, it might be from Europe. And we never really have the chance to make sure that our child is not just learning our culture and values, but learning our mother tongue language. I'm Albanian, my husband is Polish, and we live in USA, New Hampshire, USA. So we have finally the chance to potentially have the time. I can speak Albanian to my daughter, make Albanian food, cook Albanian food with her, and the same thing with my husband. So she can develop to learn Albanian, Polish, English. She has actually 3 citizenships. She has her Albanian passport, American passport, of course, and Polish passport. And this, it will give her so much more opportunity. She'll definitely think, like there's studies I've done with people that are duolingual or trilingual or more, that they are more self-aware, they learn more, they're easier to navigate on different cultures, and it just opens their horizon in a way that maybe other kids their age that just speak one language will not have it. And that's why even every year we decided to travel to Poland and also Albania. We spend time there because we want our kids to build that relationship with our cousins, with our family members, and see even how they live, like what they eat, like, you know, like especially when we go to the village where my grandma used to live, and they live in a certain way. They're so different than where we live in US. Having them there, helping them with the chores and being next to them, I'm pretty sure they'll make them appreciate more what we have here and feel more humble and build a certain reputation. They're not just like going to be these privileged kids, but they're going to be these kids that they know the origin of their mom and dad. They know like their cousins, where they're living and the situations they're in. And this is something that you'll not be able to have if you're just sending them to traditional schools and not even having the time to potentially travel to this country, because you have to go to school and you have to wait just for the summer. Finally, we are on the reason number 10. And this is not just a reason, but it's more like also some thoughts for you guys to know. A lot of people be like, but how do I know my kids will adapt? How do I know this will be working for our family? Is this something they can work or they can do like all years? I guess like what I'm trying to say is we don't know the future. We don't know if it'll be another pandemic. We don't know if maybe in the future I'll not even live in US anymore. There's so much stuff that we don't know about the future. But it doesn't cost you anything to try for 1 year. Give it a try for 1 year. And the best way to try it is, especially if your kid is elementary school, they still are in the fence, they still don't have as many friends maybe in school. And for us, we tried it while our daughter was in kindergarten. She was doing halftime, like it was like 2 hours or something in kindergarten. If we're ever trying this and testing it out, we want to do it while she's already going to school, so she's not missing school, because we're afraid, again, we've never homeschooled before. We haven't been homeschooled, so we had no idea what we were doing. We had to do a lot of research, a lot of reading, went to conferences. Like we didn't just like decide one day to homeschool. We did our own due diligence, right? And the other half, she was doing the program. The program that we follow is Alcelis, and so far has been great. Is accredited. She can go even up to college with that program. And we noticed that in school, she was still learning the entire year in kindergarten what she already learned in daycare. She was still doing the ABC, because not every kid goes to daycare, and this is how the schools are programmed. But all those things, she already did it. She knew all her letters, more or less. I mean, it's good to have repetition. I'm not saying anything wrong, but I felt like she was learning so much more at home with the program. She was advanced. I remember like the first year of the program, she finished it by January, even though she was going kindergarten. So then the second year, which was her first grade, I guess, she finished it by the summer, where she was still in kindergarten. So it tells you kind of like how much more she can get and absorb, and she knows so much more than maybe someone in kindergarten. I'm not saying like someone will be better in math than she is. Like I'm not saying she's a genius. What I'm saying is that she's not stopping. Like just because like we have a program and she finishes early, I'm not going to wait till next year to show her the next lectures, or maybe to add a little bit more, to add another subject to her program. In the program that we do, you can set up steps, so she knows every day how much steps, which subject she has to do. You have so much visibility as a parent, like where she's stuck, where she's slowing down, where she needs more help, and you have support. It's not that you're like on your own. There's parents that homeschool they're themselves, like they're the teachers. It's all hands-on. Some have Montessori style, some have other styles. We have an online program, and then we kind of like do also some hands-on, but you can choose what works for you. You need at least one parent to work from home to make this work, because if you're both working in the office, then it'll be harder because someone has to be home, or if you hire a tutor, maybe it'll be very expensive. But the program that we do is very affordable, probably costs less than a lot of other stuff that we do, like gymnastics and soccer and whatnot, per month. But so far has been good. Is it something we're continuing long term? I don't know. I hope so. So far has worked great. I'm about to homeschool my second daughter this year, so we'll see how that changes the dynamic in our homeschooling environment. It will be a little bit hard because she's smaller, but I'm hoping the older child will be also a mentor for them. And it's almost like that class environment. When you have two people in the class, if the other person is learning, you're not going to be playing. You'll feel entitled in a way and motivated to learn too. Is homeschooling for you? I don't know. It all depends on your family goals. It all depends on if at least one parent is able to work from home, and what do you want to achieve? Like, where are you? Because not every state in the world allows homeschooling. Like Poland allows it, but Albania doesn't allow it, right? So you have to be in a country that allows it and gives you the flexibility, and you have some type of community of support, because you want your kids to also hang out with people that are homeschooled, because they have a lot of different interests. Like, she has a lot of friends from kindergarten, she has neighbors and other friends from daycare that we have kept in touch, but then also she has other bonds with homeschoolers. I'm curious to know, if you're homeschooling right now, what made you decide homeschooling? How has it been working for you? What are the pros and cons? And if you're in the fence, what's stopping you from homeschooling your child? And what has been your experience in traditional school? Do you think if you were homeschooled and you have all the resources that are available today, would you think you would have changed to maybe traditional schooling, or even traditional schooling for your kids? Comment below.